Before we begin, if you've ever felt like life is slipping through your fingers, if you've ever questioned whether the path you're walking is really yours, you're not alone. This video is for you. Let's take a step inward together. There comes a moment, quiet and sudden, when something inside you cracks. It's not loud, there's no explosion, just a pause. You're brushing your teeth, scrolling your phone, sipping your morning coffee, and then it hits you. This life you've been living, is it really yours? You replay your choices. The job you said yes to because it was safe. The relationship you stayed in because leaving felt selfish. The dreams you shelved in the name of practicality. Every decision, every compromise, begins to stack in your mind like weights on your chest. You wonder, whose life have I been living? And then a whisper rises from the back of your mind. What would happen if I finally chose me? That is the instant everything begins to shift. Choosing yourself is not a gentle ripple, it's a tidal wave. At first, the shift is internal. You start to say no to what doesn't feel right. You reclaim your time. You stop laughing at jokes that aren't funny. You walk away from conversations that drain you, and people notice. They say you've changed, that you're colder, that you used to be more agreeable. But what they're really saying is, you've stopped orbiting them. You're no longer playing the role they assigned you: caretaker, fixer, peacemaker, puppet. What they see as rebellion is simply returning the discomfort they feel. It's the cost of your authenticity. For years, maybe decades, your compass pointed outward. You looked to others for guidance, validation, permission. You wore masks so often you forgot what your real face looked like. But something happens when you start living from the inside out. You no longer need to be impressive, you just need to be real. You begin to set boundaries not to punish others, but to protect yourself. You stop over-explaining your decisions. You choose silence over performance, rest over constant proving. This isn't selfish, it's sacred. You begin to feel free not because the world is easier, but because your soul is finally in alignment with your choices. And in that alignment, peace arrives. The past loves to echo. It whispers doubts. Who are you to change? You've always been this way. It shows you memories like chains, trying to hold you back. But here's the truth no one tells you. You are under no obligation to remain the version of yourself that others remember. Growth is not betrayal. Healing is not arrogance. Becoming is not abandoning. When you stop letting the past define your future, you reclaim your power. And the people who truly see you, they won't mourn your evolution, they'll celebrate it. There's a strange beauty in living truthfully. When you stop faking it, the world starts reflecting your realness back to you. New opportunities arrive not forced, not chased, but magnetized. You meet people who feel like home. You stumble into moments that feel too perfect to be random. Coincidence, maybe, but more likely. Life is responding to your authenticity. Things begin to flow, not without effort, but without resistance. You stop pushing rivers upstream. Instead, you step into the current of who you really are, and you let it carry you. Not everything becomes easy, but everything becomes clear. At first, choosing yourself can feel lonely. You step away from circles that used to define you. You spend nights alone when you once sought company. You sit with your thoughts without reaching for distraction. But in that silence, something awakens. You start to notice how beautiful your own company is. You rediscover dreams long buried. You explore ideas without fear of judgment. Loneliness transforms into solitude, and solitude becomes sacred. When you no longer need someone else to complete you, you stop negotiating your worth. You are not alone, you are whole. The most radical decision you can make in your life is this: to stop performing. To stop living for applause, to stop chasing roles that don't fit your soul, to stop shrinking just to be accepted. The moment you choose to be fully, unapologetically yourself, your life becomes your own. You are no longer the echo of other people's expectations. You are the voice of your own truth. And no, the path won't always be smooth, but it will be yours. And that is the beginning of real fulfillment. Many spend their lives searching outside for meaning, in status, in relationships, in wealth, in approval. But the greatest journey you will ever take is not across countries or up corporate ladders. It is the journey back to yourself. This is not New Age fluff. This is foundational philosophy. The question of who we really are and whether we're living in accordance with that has been asked for centuries. The examined life isn't about obsessing over every choice. It's about making conscious ones. Choices rooted in alignment, not obligation, not fear, not guilt. For most of us, identity is not something we create. It's something handed to us before we can even speak. You're told what's expected: to be polite, to be strong, to be agreeable, to be successful. Labels are placed on you like stickers: the good child, the responsible one, the overachiever, the silent sufferer. You play the part because it feels like love depends on it. But what happens when you wake up and realize that these roles have become a prison? You look in the mirror and no longer recognize who's looking back. Not because you've changed, but because you've been covered, layer by layer, by everyone else's expectations. To choose yourself means to peel away these layers, even if doing so makes others uncomfortable. Even if it means losing approval. Even if it means walking away from identities that once made you feel safe. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about finally allowing yourself to be someone true. In a world that idolizes hustle, the idea of rest feels rebellious. We're told to always be doing, always improving, always chasing the next milestone. And so we run ourselves into the ground, confusing motion with meaning. But productivity without presence is emptiness with good branding. Choosing yourself sometimes means doing less. It means asking, why am I doing this? Instead of blindly chasing validation through output. It means slowing down long enough to hear your own thoughts, to question whether your busyness is hiding a deeper discomfort. Fear, loneliness, disconnection. Stillness is not laziness, it is clarity. And clarity is power. There is profound wisdom in knowing when to stop, when to pause, when to just be. Your worth is not determined by how much you produce, but by how honestly you live. We are raised to believe that if we can just be perfect, just enough, just right, we will finally earn love. So we smooth the edges of our personality. We silence the parts of ourselves that are messy, loud, emotional, vulnerable. We pretend, but perfection is a mask, and the longer you wear it, the heavier it becomes. Perfectionism is not a virtue, it's a wound that says, if I show you who I really am, you will leave. And so we hide, but the irony is this: the more we hide, the more isolated we feel. True connection, real soul-level connection, only happens when we show our scars. Not when we pretend they don't exist. When you choose yourself, you allow yourself to be seen. Not just the polished parts, but the human ones. And in doing so, you make it safe for others to do the same. That's the quiet revolution, choosing truth over image. Some doors must close, not because you hate what's behind them, but because you no longer belong there. It takes courage to walk away from a job that provides security but drains your spirit. It takes strength to end a relationship that's comfortable but lacks depth. It takes wisdom to admit that what once fit you no longer does, and that's okay. Growth requires endings. Every tree must shed its leaves before new ones can bloom. You are not meant to stay in places where you have to shrink to survive. There's a grief in letting go, even when you know it's right. But that grief is sacred. It's a sign that you're alive, that you care, that you're evolving. Don't fear the discomfort of departure. Fear the numbness that comes from staying too long in what no longer feeds your soul. Noise surrounds us, digital alerts, endless commentary, opinions masquerading as truth. Silence has become rare, almost uncomfortable, but it is in silence that we hear the voice that matters most, our own. When you strip away the external volume, something remarkable happens. You remember how to listen, not to respond, not to impress, but to understand. This silence is not empty. It's full of clarity, full of intuition, full of self. Returning to silence means reclaiming your thoughts from the collective chaos. It means learning to trust your gut, to follow your inner compass even when it leads you off the beaten path. Not every decision needs external confirmation. Some truths are felt, not taught. And in those moments of inner stillness, you realize you've always known the way. You just needed the quiet to remember. Many of us live in constant negotiation with ourselves. We dim our light so we don't make others uncomfortable. We downplay our achievements, our desires, our intelligence. We worry about being too intense, too emotional, too ambitious. At the same time, we fear we're not enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough. This tug-of-war between too much and not enough keeps us frozen. But here's the truth. You are not too much for the right people, and you are certainly not too little for your own life. Choosing yourself means refusing to apologize for the full spectrum of your being. It means holding space for your fire and your softness, your ambition and your need for rest. It's not about balance, it's about wholeness. You are not here to be digestible, you are here to be real. There's a shift that happens when you step fully into your truth. You stop chasing things that aren't meant for you. You stop begging to be chosen. You stop convincing people to love you. Instead, you attract. Not because you're louder or flashier, but because you've become magnetic-rooted, centered, clear. When you are unapologetically yourself, the right people, opportunities, and experiences begin to find you. Not because you seek them, but because you've become visible in your authenticity. This is not manifestation. This is alignment. What is meant for your highest self cannot find you if you are pretending to be someone else. There's a common fear. If I truly become myself, I will end up alone. But here's the paradox. When you finally choose yourself, real connection becomes possible. Superficial relationships may fall away. That's true, but what replaces them is intimacy, depth, mutual respect. You stop performing for acceptance and start showing up with presence. You find people who don't need the edited version of you. You form bonds not based on roles, but resonance. Choosing yourself doesn't mean closing your heart. It means opening it in the right direction. You're not alone because you're broken. You're alone because you're filtering out the noise to make room for the people who can actually see you. We're conditioned to seek arrival points, graduation, promotion, marriage, a certain income bracket. We want to arrive somewhere that tells us we've made it, but the truth is, you never really arrive. There is no final version of you, there's only becoming. Every day is an unfolding. Every experience, even the painful ones, is a teacher. Every version of you serves a purpose, even the ones you've outgrown. When you choose yourself, you choose the journey over the destination. You allow yourself to evolve. Becoming is not linear. Sometimes you'll move forward, then backward, then sideways. That's okay. This is not a race. It's a rhythm, and your rhythm is sacred. We reach a moment in life, not once, but over and over where we are asked to choose. Will you keep pretending, or will you live aligned? Will you keep pleasing, or will you start feeling? Will you stay silent, or will you speak your truth? There's no applause for these decisions. No one is handing out medals for authenticity. But something else happens, something far more valuable. You begin to feel peace. Not the peace that comes from everything going right, but the peace that comes from knowing you're living right, from knowing you've chosen integrity over image, depth over performance, soul over script. And that is the real beginning of a meaningful life. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one day. This isn't about dramatic exits or impulsive moves. It's about micro choices. The moment you say no, when your gut says no. The moment you tell the truth instead of what's easy. The moment you sit with yourself and ask, what do I want? And actually listen. This is how the revolution begins, quietly, daily, honestly. You don't have to know every step. You just need to take the first one, and that step is always the same. Choose yourself again and again and again.